Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Shivang. I'm one of the founders of Big Thinx. And this is Chandralika with me, my co-founder. Now, just waiting for the presentation to get up there. But we guys started Big Thinx in 2015. And Big Thinx was designed to be an AI company to solve AI problems for the fashion and retail industry. Now, there are a lot of problems. It's well established that fashion is one of the most polluting industries in the world, primarily because of the way it's managed. Apart from that, there are wasteful processes that are being used across the board from manufacturing, distribution, logistics, on the retail end of it, and more. So this is what we set out to do, but we set out with a very simple premise. The biggest and lowest hanging fruit that we could target was around clothing sizing. Now, sizing is a big problem because people buy and return. But eventually, this has led us to expand a suite of products, all leveraging AI and machine learning and also computer vision in some form or the other within mobile body scanning, digital avatars, virtual try-ons, NFTs, Web3, the metaverse, and much, much more over the course of our journey. So let me tell you how this all started. It started when Chandralika and I, we're both architects, turned MBAs, turned techies, which is not a combination that you find a lot. Now, we got together after I sold a previous startup in the US and I came back to Bangalore. And Chandralika was between Bangalore and Singapore, where she was the brand head of a Singapore-based multinational corporation. And we reconnected after, some 10 years after college, and we sat down and we got talking. And the conversation came around to how much we return clothes. Because we were buying online and we were returning practically 70 or 80% of what we were getting. And why were we returning this? It was primarily around three major factors: size, look, and fit. You would think that this was a standard problem to solve, but it's not. Now, the reason that this problem exists to such an extent is because there is little to no standardization. Many of you being from fashion will know that retailers and fashion brands actually stock various products. They're all designed to different specifications. Therefore, a medium in one brand is not the same as a fit as a medium in another brand. And therefore, if you buy that second brand expecting it to fit like the first brand, you're going to be sorry and you're going to end up returning it. And this is where the crux of the problem comes in. People abuse free returns. Free returns were introduced by e-commerce in order to grow their businesses. But free returns have been factored into the e-commerce business model when they don't need to be. And that's really the crux of the problem that we started out to solve. And it's a big problem. It's over $700 billion worth around the world in fashion itself. And about 30 to 50% of fashion items bought online are returned. So this is about worth $380 billion of worth an opportunity around the world that is being targeted only marginally. Now, this is also terrible from a sustainability standpoint. 41% of consumers, it has been shown, actually buy fashion knowing fully well before buying it that they are going to return it. They're just buying it to try on and see how it looks and maybe take a few photos for Instagram. Now, 89% of people have returned a fashion purchase over the past couple of years. People know they're going to do this. They still do it. Why is that? Because they just want to try it on. They want to see how it looks, how it fits. And that's it. They just want to take a couple of pictures. And this is such a big problem that up to 84% in certain countries of returned fashion gets destroyed. It goes into incinerators and landfills. With about 20% of these have not even been worn once. Now, if it takes about 7,000 liters of water to manufacture a t-shirt. It produces hundreds of kilograms of CO2 when you're doing that. Now, if a 20% of this fashion that goes into incinerators and landfills without being worn is taken into account as a whole, you have billions of liters of fresh water and billions more kilograms of carbon dioxide that are getting that are getting generated or used up respectively because of this process. Now, coming to what we do as a company, we target several different areas, as I mentioned. One is fashion. The other is manufacturing. Manufacturing is again a space where when you're manufacturing textiles, fabrics, garments, there's a tremendous amount of wastage. This is because there are defects in the fabrics that come to the manufacturers. There are issues with the produced garments. Sometimes these are being sewn by hand or stitched by hand by hundreds and hundreds of workers sitting in lines passing garments from one to the other. Human error creeps in. These people are working 12 to 16 hours a day. They're just basically stitching a piece over and over and over again. But there is human error that comes in. There are cutting errors that come in. And all of these end up in export rejects, defective garments, and so on. And finally, wellness. I won't go into that too much, but our products also touch upon wellness and fitness. Now, in the space of Web3, NFTs, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about the metaverse. It's one of those hot topics right now. So we have products in gaming, in digital twins, and in NFTs as well. So coming to what we do in our core products, we've got two core products, which are mobile body scanning and digital avatars and virtual try-ons. Now, the body scanning is fairly straightforward. I think a little bit of the slide is getting cut. If you guys could maybe check into that. I've got about half the slide that's going off on the other side of the stage. So in mobile body scanning, what this does is it requires two pictures of yours with your mobile phone. Doesn't require a special phone, doesn't require a special camera. You take out your mobile phone, somebody takes your pictures, or you take your phone, you put it on a chair or a table, you step back, and your picture is automatically clicked once the AI detects that you're in it. The AI next goes ahead and determines full body precise measurements from this picture. So it gets 44 precise measurements in less than a second. Basically what a tailor would do for you if you were going to get custom-made clothing made, or you were trying to get a suit or a salwar kameez or something stitched for yourself. That's what they'd get. We do this in it takes less than a second. It's precise. And so what this does is we use these measurements to match you to exactly your size and fit in whatever product, in whatever brand you're trying to shop. So we'll tell you whether you need a medium or a large, how well is it going to fit you across the shoulders, how well on the chest, how well on the hips. So at the end of it, you have a data-based approach to tell you exactly how well a product is going to fit you before you buy it. So this ends up eliminating the problem where you need to guess what the product is going to fit like. So at the end of it, you get products that fit you right, and therefore you end up returning them less. So what you see over here is what happens when one person takes their body scan and gets matched to different sizes in different regions and different brands. All these clothes that you see up there, you have a size recommendation ranging from a medium, 12, large, 44, small, and 14. This is off the body scan of one person. And that's how much variation you see in fashion, and that's what we help to solve. The second is creating digital avatars and virtual lookalikes of clothing and of you. Now, the way that this works is you take 3 pictures instead of 2, 2 of your body and 1 of your face. This instantly gets an avatar that's like a Hollywood CGI version of you. It's got your looks, your measurements, your movements. You can stick these into a game and play as yourself if you like. Now, the second part of this is automated production of digital clothing. So we also do the digital clothing from photographs. Now, why is this important? In fashion design, we are now moving towards the age where we're designing in 3D. You have software like Clo, Browseware, Optitex. All of these enable brands to design in 3D. However, each 3D piece that is designed and produced by somebody who's a virtual fashion designer takes about 4 hours to produce, on average. More complicated pieces take longer. Now, this is not a scalable model. If you're trying to do 100,000 pieces, or you're trying to do massive inventories for online sellers, you just can't do this at 4 hours a piece unless you sit down a small army to do this. So what our processes do is it uses AI again to identify from clothing what kind of clothing is in a picture, as well as with the information about the clothing to replicate it in 3D. Now, once you've got this 3D clothing, that is an exact replica of the real world clothing that it comes from the photos, and your own avatar, you can try it on. So you see how it looks, how it fits, how it drapes, how it moves along with your body when you move it around. And this is what solves for the look and the visual part of your shopping. So again, no need to do Instagram pictures, because you can actually try it on and see and share on social media without actually having to buy it and then return it. This again, when you put these together, these products bring down returns by a massive amount. This is what you see on the screen is an example of what we need in order to do this. You need 2 pictures of the clothing, one from the front and one from the back. You need some specifications, basically your size chart, and you need some fabric information. The software automatically recreates that in 3D. You try it on, and here are a few examples. So this is both the avatar generation and the clothing generation. So you've got the avatar is generated from the same pictures. Here's another example of some of the virtual try-ons that you end up getting. So you can see, you can move them about, and so on. So you get a very, very good idea of how clothing is going to look and drape on you, for you, before you buy it. And what this does from a business standpoint is with the customers that we work with, primarily in the US and Europe, but we're now expanding and bringing our services to India. We've brought down returns by as much as 70%. Now, this is a huge number. That is worth tens of millions, going up to hundreds of millions in the cases of very large companies, that we are saving them on returns every year because of shipping, because of damaged products, because of various other reasons that returns end up adding up to. At the same time, we've increased order values for them. We've actually increased conversions by as much as 250%. Now, that is huge, because when a consumer is shopping online and they actually are able to interact with objects in 3D, they shop more and they shop better. So they convert more, they buy more, and they return less, which means that the whole systemic model gets better. You, in fact, see advantages in sustainability and throughout the supply chain when doing this. Again, in the supply chain, you're gathering a tremendous amount of data when you do this. So the data is on human bodies, it's on clothing, it's on the type of fabrics and the type of designs people are picking, it's sentiment analysis that comes in, and all this feeds back into the supply chain to help brands design better, they manufacture better. So they design better to suit their consumers' body types depending on where they're shipping. They manufacture better because they manufacture that mix of sizes which is actually going to sell. So you don't have wasted products going on to sale season and lying in warehouses. And it also allows you to distribute better, because you then ship the right mix of products and sizes to the places where people are actually going to buy out the entire stock. So you are able to use predictive analytics to actually sell out of what you're producing and not letting stuff go to waste. And this is a good point where I'll turn it over to Chandralika to take you through the more visual products that we have.
Hi everyone, it's an honor to be here and with such an amazing audience. Yes, so whatever Shivang mentioned till now is our core products all around the human body data. As you know, human body data is complicated. Indians' bodies are very different from anyone else. I am from Assam. We are very tiny people. We are definitely different from people from Delhi. So it took us many years just to understand the human body, how they operate. The only thing we ask you is your height, because that's the only thing we believe people know and is constant. So yeah, it's not possible to have these virtual experiences without, a virtual world, as you call the metaverse. So we do have some virtual experiences that's called the virtual showrooms, virtual fashion shows. So what are they? So during the pandemic, we started getting requests from people, London, Paris, New York, brands, who they had a physical store in the most premium location. There was a lockdown, there was no lockdown. They were still paying the premium rents. And they came to us, can I have a store that is not impacted by all these effects? Can it always be running? It can be an app, it can be in your website. It's a walkabout virtual environment like a video game. You go inside, explore, create your avatar, maybe, pop out your NFT, click on anything, see the fabric, no matter what silk it is, the texture, the fabric, everything. So just a glimpse, I'm not sure of the music, it'll capture the music, let me try. Okay, it doesn't have the music, it's fine. Some of the experiences, it can be endless. as creative as wild you want. I always tell my clients, please, there is no gravity at play. Let's think wild. They can be flying in the air. You don't need anything. So that this environments, this is just some of the experiences. As I said, they can be as futuristic or as traditional you want them to be. Virtual fashion shows. We are one of the first company in the world to create a completely virtual fashion show. We have done 3 for New York Fashion Week. This is a still from a New York Fashion Week that was in September 2020. Honestly, our technology was ready. We never thought we'll create a virtual fashion show because fashion is all about a touch and feel. Shivang and me are ideally based out of Milan, and you know, especially more than the Indians also, the Italians just love to touch and feel. They are obsessed with that. So it was a hard sell for us. We never imagined a luxury brand would come to us and say that, hey, you know, I don't know how to sell my products because my clients are in China and suddenly they can't attend the Paris Fashion Week. And that's when it started. And we had the technology, we just had to put it together in a walkabout avatar. This lady that you see here, I love her, she's from Brazil. She's an amputee model and she's a ballerina. So when I met her, I requested her to be a model for a New York Fashion Week. She was later covered by Forbes in the US, and that's the power of technology. The whole world comes together. There's no restrictions on the designer, where they are from, where the models are from. Again, I would have loved the music to be there if they can. By any chance, you can have the music. Otherwise, it'll not make sense. Yeah, sorry guys, so sorry. Because I'll give you a glimpse of different fashion weeks globally. Pretty outdated, but still you get some idea. That was really outdated. But the last garment, since I think we have a lot of designers here, the black, you know, there was a leather skirt, dress, walking. The designer, she's a designer from New York. She literally gave me a sketch in pencil in a tiny piece of paper. I had no idea what the bottom looked like, and I had to create it out of that. So, but the advantage is she did not have to go for prototyping, no fabric, no swatches. You just give me the references and it's all done. You put it out in your virtual store, in your fashion show, or your virtual try-on, and any designer or a luxury brand can get out and get going. So yes, supply chain and 3D designing, this is very close to our heart. When we started Big Things, the core was we wanted fashion to be more sustainable. We wanted to reduce apparel waste. That time it was an extremely hard sell. Imagine in 2020 in Milan trying to go to the luxury brands and tell them, hey, what about trying to go digital? What about trying to be more sustainable? The brands told us they don't have a digital budget. And obviously, as founders, it was pretty demoralizing that we actually creating something for which brands don't have a budget. Thanks to the pandemic, now they only have a digital budget. Thank God. So right now, the pandemic changed things. You could not touch and feel things. It was all digital. And today I literally don't have to go and explain to a brand what the problem is. They come to me with the problem and they know that maybe we can solve it. And that's the beauty. That's unfortunately a positive side effect of the pandemic. Fashion has definitely become much more sustainable. I have seen the changes in India too. People come to us sometimes and ask me, first question, how can I be more sustainable? How can you impact my supply chain? And those are amazing questions. This can happen only if I start working with the designers when they start conceptualizing it, when they start designing it. Only then I can impact the whole supply chain to help them understand how much to manufacture, what sizes to manufacture, and it's not always, you cannot pressurize people to pick between an extra small and a small. We pick up a small because extra small is tight, small is way loose. So fashion is changing, it's much more inclusive right now, apart from sustainable. So we are working with some of the biggest export houses. We visited the factories to see everything is manual, everything. And in this era, where the top clients from globally have pressurized them, hey, you know, my next season I want everything digital. And once a CEO just called me, one of the biggest export houses, and he told me, I don't even know what it means. Because my biggest client in Amsterdam just called me and said, next season he wants everything digital. So it's the dilemma the whole fashion world is going through, but it's a very good problem to have. We're there to help. So yes, we are working and we're trying to solve this problem beyond our standard products. Coming back to the closing size, I think Shivang did touch on that. With our body scanning and other technologies, we can help brands manufacture the sizes that's required. For example, again, if I just give an example, and I'm from Northeast, if you keep sending a lot of triple XLs to Northeast, I don't think it'll ever be used. I think the average height of a man there is 5'7". And I think the maximum size utilized will be XL. So that kind of geographic data is very important for clients to understand, manufacture, and send them across. Yeah, metaverse, very close to us. It's a little funny when Facebook changed their name to Meta. We started getting a lot of inquiries saying, hey, we just heard you're one of the pioneers in the metaverse space. For us as founders, we didn't know how to respond to it because we are doing it since 2016 and we have been trying to do only that. It's just that now people are a little aware. Maybe it's good for us to at least accept what we are doing. So we don't want to be a metaverse. There are different metaverses out there. We are just the enablers. We provide our digital beings, our digital fashion and other things, but we don't want to be a metaverse. We are just enablers for them. Just for fun, two of our fun, it's from a range called the 40. The 40 means uneven. So just to, actually Vogue recently reached out to me for an interview and this was created in just one day with my team. Why I wanted to highlight this is, there are different softwares out there, but getting the fabric shine correct in the 3D is pretty tough. So here we were struggling to get the shine on that fabric there. So I think the designers will relate to it. I hope the music plays. No? Okay. Again, if you can help me. So there's another one. Again, music please. Sorry. Yes. There's a velvet texture here. I really had a nightmare. Just two short NFTs there. Over this, Shivang, over to you. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks. So you got a taste of the more visual side of the products that we're doing, which are solving different business challenges, which some of which have not even yet materialized. As a company, we're women-led, as you see, and we've won numerous awards for our work. In fact, Chandralika won the Accenture Women in Tech Award last year, which is a big honor. It is unfortunate that I have to say that we are equal, inclusive, diverse, but even now, in today's day and age, that is still not a reality that a lot of us end up seeing. And we've got presences across the world with offices in New York, Dubai, Milan, Tokyo, Bangalore, of course, and all our technology is done ourselves. We've won most of the world's largest awards for our work in AI and fashion, practically every major award in the world at this point. And we do encourage you to reach out to us if you think any of what you just saw was valuable. I'm also happy to take questions at this time.
Questions? Yes.
Thank you. Very impressive work. I do have a question about the data you're collecting. You're taking the front and the side photos of people. Do you keep them for training or do you discard them? What is your privacy policy? Thank you.
Privacy is a huge concern. So obviously, about 2 years ago, we had people saying that, no, we won't take our photos because our faces are going to be seen and our bodies. And this is what we started to tell them, that we don't keep your photos. We process them, we delete them. We do keep the data that is derived, but that is in no way tied back to you. So it's a string of numbers, which is gibberish if you don't know what it means and how to interpret it. So that is the only data that we store. Because of privacy reasons, no photographs or videos or anything of the sort is ever stored.
So you just, the earlier body scanners had some 365 measurements, right? That was the first T2 scanner and stuff. So I've done my PhD in anthropometry of men for the Indian apparel industry. A huge struggle, not just to get data, but to get people to buy your data. So when you're saying there's no standardization, no brand wants to invest in it. So obviously when you do a study and you tell people to buy it, they don't want to spend money on buying it. If you give it free, everybody's willing to take it. And I think that is the biggest problem that our industry actually faces, because every brand is using fit and their sizing as a selling point, whereas actually it should be hygiene, so that all of us know that that one size is for all. But having said that, if you're saying 44 measurements is all that you capture on your scanner, is that 44 measurements? And is it circumferential as well as longitudinal and everything else, or how does it actually work?
It is. So it's so you've got girths and circumferences across the body. You've got longitudinal distances. You've got slopes. You've got mid distances. So certain points to other points which are relevant. Say if you're trying to do a kurta, that you want.
So ratios and drops and stuff like that.
All of those. Yes.
Thanks.
Okay, there's a question from Hemant.
So will that average body size also show you how you see, many ladies I know, being in the profession since years, is there'll be a 36 on top, a 38 on the waist, and a 44 on the lower part, right? Now, will that reflect onto that 3D image, or will it just have a photo of her face on top?
No, it does reflect onto the 3D image. So the idea is that when we're putting a drape of clothing onto the body, it is an actual drape of clothing as on your body. So the body that is created, so as you said, if there's a 36, 38 and a 40, along 3 different sizes on the same body, that is exactly how the body is reproduced. Now once the clothing comes onto that, it drapes the way that it would on your body. So it takes into the fabric, it takes the fabric properties into account. It takes the stretch, it takes the shear, the weft, the warp, and all those other properties.
So ideally it would show you that the skirt is much too tight.
It does, and in fact, you also have the option of tension maps, which certain brands like to use. So it gives you also a visual indicator. Red is too tight, green is just right, and so on.
So that means that of each garment, each and every bit of measurement has been scanned into the machine, and that. So is that actually worth it when you have a series of 100 pieces or something?
I'm sorry.
Is that worth it?
It is. So we don't need to scan it into the machine. So that's the difference between what our software does. We get the specifications which come from the brand, and we know the fabric, we know the specifications, and we do the photos. Now from the photos, the AI actually replicates the clothing, and we designate each of the dimensions of that clothing. So you actually get realistic measurements as per the specifications through which the original garment was designed. Now once you put that on, it is much the same as you putting on clothes yourself, like in a physical situation. You've got a body and you've got the clothing, and you put that clothing onto the body, and however it drapes. And that is what is the reality that you're going to see, even for bodies that don't follow any standard proportion, for example.
Because when you see the fashion show, the impression you get is the other way around, is that the garment looks perfect and you've put a body that works inside.
So it depends. So like Chandralika said, these fashion shows were done a little while ago. Yeah. We were actually the first company in the world to do a virtual fashion show at the New York Fashion Week with digital avatars of real people. It had never been done before that. So for us as well, this was the first time anyone was doing anything like this. And it was a learning experience for us. Well, it's not something that we take on often, but we do take it on if there's a really large brand. So, you have like a household name that comes knocking and says, hey, we want to put on a fashion show, we'll consider it. But by and large, fashion shows are a lot of work, even when they're done digitally. So not something that we normally do.
So I have one last question. Sure. So last year during the lockdown, I'm from Pearl Academy, they did a digital fashion show along with Amazon, right? It was really nice. May not be as tech savvy as yours, but it was really nice. Digitally done, and it was really nice. When you're talking about mapping clothes to the body, do you pick existing silhouettes and then map it to the body? How do you actually look at it? If you're designing something, it has to be original, right? So when you're doing these avatars and you're clothing them, so do you actually use the sketch of an original design and then map it to the avatar's body, or how do you go about it?
So the clothing is not mapped to the avatar's body. Let me just first clarify that. Like I said, the avatar body is generated independently, and the clothing is generated independently to be as realistic as possible. and it is actually draped the way that you would in real life. So we're not doing a mapping, we're not doing a visual simulation of something that is similar. We're doing an identical replica of what you would get in the real world. Right. Yes.
Okay, so last question there, up there. That's the last question, and we move on to the next talk.
Yeah, I just wanted to know what happens. Can you hear?
Can you increase the volume of the mic, please? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know what happens because the human body keeps changing. So does it store the data or does it keep updating the data? So in that case, what one does?
You're right. About 25% of people change a size every season.
Yeah.
That's what we've come to find. So what we do is we recommend that the brands and the clients that we work with, they have their consumers take a body scan every month or every 2 months. Now, you may fall into that 50 to 75% of people who don't change a size very often. But if you're one of those 25% of people that do change a size, then it's devastating because you just bought something a few months ago and then you've got to do it, return it, which is not the customer experience that you want. So if you take a body scan, it takes up, 5 seconds of your time and you're done once every 2 months.
I think that's
so what
exactly
happens to the redundant, are you then redunding the previous data? How does it work?
I think it depends on the client. It depends on how the client wants to store the data because we don't own it. But that's exactly where our wellness product comes in. We help you track your body transformation over time if you're working out at home or you don't have access to a gym or you don't have a weighing scale. Just by 2 scans, we give your weight, BMI, and we help you understand all your body transformation over time.
Great. We take all these discussions forward. Shruti, can you just store your questions for the coffee break because we have to really rush a bit because we have a very difficult panel discussion coming ahead.